to hear a story, huh? Well, there's one, so sit down and listen. Long ago, there was a time in France called the French Revolution. The revolution was so revolutionary that it sparked Haiti to gain independence. This revolution was brutal, though. People were sentenced to death for believing in God. Innocent people were killed by a guillotine during one period called the Reign of Terror. This revolution started out as just a couple of riots here and there, but escalated quickly. When Louis assumed the throne, he was immediately charged with a controversial decision burdened with the future of our world. This decision was whether or not to aid the American Revolution under the impending threat of certain bankruptcy.
They're ruined. The government can barely afford to operate. If we go to war, the first gunshot will drive the state to bankruptcy.
Anything we can do to occupy and reach the rich for resources during our time of trouble would be most beneficial for France, even if it means going into debt.
And so France supported the American Revolution, but at the same time doomed itself to a massive debt crisis. At the end of the war, half the French budget was needed to pay the interest on their loans alone. Louis and Marie Antoinette were born and raised in an environment of luxury in Versailles, France. They married at ages 15 and 14 respectively, and ascended to the throne 5 years into their marriage. Being young and quite indulged as king and queen, they were famous for having grand balls and lavish lifestyles.
La Rienne, what shall we do this weekend? Whoa.
Well, I have a new dress and hairstyle. I don't like to show off. Let's have a party.
In 1787, Louis, in an act of desperation, called an assembly of notables to approve a radical tax reform plan. Due to the nature of the plan, involving increased taxation on the nobility, among other groups, the assembly did not approve the plan.
This plan is outrageous. How can you expect us, the French nobility, the elite, to suffer increased taxes? We are les commes, just like you. Go stick your une baguette in somebody else's business. We have other noble things to do.
Yeah, like surrendering? Or is it time for lunch? Second lunch and then mid-afternoon snack?
I'm coming after you just as soon as I finish my vacation days.
Well, alrighty then. I guess I'll have to call the States General. Such fun.
The Estates General elected representatives of each estate to send to Versailles.
We would like to switch up the government and push for a constitutionalized monarchy with an elected legislature.
Many nobles and members of the clergy sympathized with the Third Estate, but they were unable to gain support from the other two estates. This resulted in a 6-week deadlock.
We've had enough. We're going to leave. We're going to form the National Assembly and write a constitution that ties the sovereign's legitimacy to les sans-culottes. We represent a massive fraction of the population, and as such, we are entitled to a bigger voice in government.
I'm afraid of this National Assembly. They are taking revolution. We must amass troops in Versailles to arrest them.
On July 14, 1789, the revolutionary public, which was made up of the lower class, took action and attacked the Bastille, a medieval fortress, prison, and armory. The public was armed with makeshift weapons, along with the weapons they had recently seized from the Paris armory. The fort was protected by a small number of guards and soldiers.
We want your heads, bread, and a voice, you useless government. These footlongs are way more than $5 stinking.
We don't want to fight. We have to put our cannons down. Please, just go home.
Thanks for the heads up.
The Bastille represented the royal authority of Paris, and its capture was a big turning point in the revolution. It is still celebrated by the French today. A few months after the fall of the Bastille, the women peasantry joined the revolution. People were spending a majority of their income on bread, and less femmes were having trouble feeding their children. Now, if you've ever seen an angry mom, you know it's not a pretty sight, but multiply that by 7,000 and give them all pitchforks and anyone would be terrified.
Die fine. Give us life, pine, or die. Show us Madame Deficit. We want a baker.
I already told you, just piece of cake.
She never really said that. Attack.
What do you mean? Ah!
The king and queen narrowly avoided capture here and would never see the lavish Versailles palace again. After the French people overthrew their previous government, the government was replaced with several extremist groups. At the head of these groups was a man named Robespierre. He radically changed the political systems of France. He was also very cruel by punishing anyone who went against the new ideas of his revolution. All of the church workers and many others were sentenced to death.
And you stand in the way of changing La France for the better will be sentenced to death by guillotine, especially everyone of the Catholic faith.
But sir, this isn't just.
Silence! You will be put to death for your intolerance.
Many people were sentenced to death during the Reign of Terror, but the most famous was Marie Antoinette.
You suck. You're a bad queen.
Oh, wait, I'm not done yet. I'm gonna marry family interest. So,
Nicholas are here.
Robespierre was finally overthrown by the public for his cruel rule. He was quickly replaced by a new dictator, Napoleon. Napoleon gained power through his extensive military success. He captured major places monitored by major countries.
I am the greatest military leader in the world.
Napoleon used his power to eliminate the unjust aspects of society. He based his policies on legal equality for all men, religious freedom, and power based on merit rather than birth.
You get equality, and you get equality, and you get equality.
France dominated the battlefield with Napoleon leading the force, but they got overconfident and took on too much to handle. Napoleon fought against Russia in a heated battle, only to fall in the end. Napoleon was defeated by the combination of Russia, British, Austrian, and Prussian forces. The French Revolution sparked new ideas in Haiti. The new rights of men established in France inspired many slaves to revolt against the oppressive white plantation owners.
We're tired of harvesting all this sugar.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. No need to get hasty there.
ah,
They're gone.
The slaves were freed from the French rule, but other European countries came in and tried to take control. The slave leader, Toussaint, led many battles with the slaves and was repelled every European country. In 1801, the slaves almost gained complete independence, but Napoleon came in.
If you don't want to die, I'd suggest you just leave.
How about we come up with a truce? Meet me alone in the woods tonight after sundown.
Okay.
Napoleon took Toussaint to France and killed him a year later. Haiti eventually gained complete independence under Dessalines. But due to the fact that they were a country claimed by slaves, nobody traded with them because no one wanted to promote that kind of behavior for their own slaves during